The unwanted gift. The solar winds whistled against the rusted hull of Outpost Epsilon 9 as Dr. Sarah Chen calibrated the atmospheric sensors for the third time that day. The crimson nebula outside cast everything in an eerie glow, making the abandoned research station feel even more isolated than it already was. Another day in paradise, Sarah muttered to herself as she adjusted her worn lab coat, a year into her exile for dangerous scientific theories. And she was still talking to herself. Yet something felt different today. The station's proximity alerts had been blinking since dawn. A Novanian cruiser was approaching. No one ever came to Epsilon 9. Not unless someone had seriously angered the Galactic Council. The docking bay trembled. As magnetic clamps engaged, Sarah hurried through the corridor, her heart racing against her ribs. When the airlock hissed open, she was greeted by the imposing figure of Commander Kai, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly in the dim light. "Dr. Chen," he said with a voice like gravel, "by decree of the Novanian High Council, you are to receive a special assignment." Sarah narrowed her eyes. "I don't work for the Council anymore. Not since they labeled me a heretic for suggesting your species wasn't the first intelligent life in the galaxy." Commander Kai smiled thinly. "This isn't work, Dr. Chen. This is a gift." He gestured behind him, and the airlock opened again. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as a figure stepped forward, wrapped in shimmering robes of deep indigo. The alien was female, with skin a soft shade of purple that seemed to pulse gently with an inner light. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and a startling silver that reflected the station lights like twin moons. "This is Aya," Commander Kai said with barely concealed mockery. "Daughter of Sovereign Zex, considered unfit for royal duties or even public appearance." Sarah noticed how Aya's shoulders hunched slightly, how her gaze remained fixed on the floor. The commander continued, "The Sovereign believes her talents might be better suited to assist a human scientist on a forgotten outpost. Consider it an honor." "An honor," Sarah repeated flatly. "You mean she's being exiled just like me?" The commander's smile disappeared. "She's yours now, Dr. Chen, to try to make use of her, though I doubt even you could find value in such a failure." With that, he turned abruptly and marched back to his ship. When the Novanian cruiser departed, Sarah and Aya stood in silence, the hum of the station's life support systems the only sound between them. "They didn't even leave your belongings," Sarah finally said. Aya spoke, her voice soft, with a musical quality that the translation implant couldn't quite filter out. "I have no belongings." "Worth bringing, Doctor." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her short dark hair. "Well, I suppose we should find you quarters. There's plenty of empty rooms in this forgotten corner of space." As they walked through the dimly lit corridors, Sarah noticed how Aya moved with surprising grace despite her obvious discomfort. Her robes whispered against the metal floor and occasionally caught the light, revealing intricate patterns woven into the fabric. "Why did they send you here?" Sarah asked as they reached an empty crew quarter. Aya's silver eyes finally met Sarah's. "Because I am wrong, Dr. Wrong, in ways my people cannot tolerate. I was bred to be perfect, but emerged flawed. My father, the Sovereign, has many daughters who bring him pride. I only bring shame." Sarah leaned against the doorway, studying the alien. "And what exactly makes you wrong?" For the first time, Aya's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "Everything about me. My appearance, my thoughts, even the way my body processes energy. They call me the failed experiment." Sarah nodded slowly, understanding all too well what it meant to be labeled wrong by those in power. "Well, Aya, on this station, we're all failed experiments. Welcome to the club." That night, as the artificial gravity cycled and the station creaked with the familiar sounds of solitude, Sarah looked out at the stars, wondering what the Novanians had really sent her. Was Aya truly just a disgraced royal, or something more? Something that even the mighty Sovereign Zex feared enough to hide away at the edge of known space. In the quiet darkness, Sarah didn't realize that across the station, Aya was watching the same stars, her silver eyes reflecting galaxies and her mind calculating Possibilities that would soon change everything between them. Beneath the surface. 3 weeks had passed since Aya's arrival, and the rhythm of Outpost Epsilon 9 had shifted in subtle ways. Sarah noticed how the environmental system seemed to function better. Somehow the air tasted fresher, and the persistent flicker in the west corridor had mysteriously fixed itself. "Did you adjust the oxygen recyclers?" Sarah asked one morning, as she found Aya seated cross-legged before a disassembled atmospheric regulator parts floating in a perfect circle around. Aya's silver eyes widened slightly, her purple fingers pausing mid-gesture, causing the floating components to wobble. "I hope you don't mind, I couldn't sleep," and noticed the carbon filtration was operating at 67% efficiency. Sarah crouched beside her, amazed at how the parts seemed to respond to Aya's subtle movements without any visible technology. "Mind? This would have taken me days to fix manually." She studied Aya's face more carefully. "How are you doing that?" "The floating." Aya's gaze dropped. "It's why they sent me away. My telekinetic abilities developed incorrectly. According to Novanian standards, they should be controlled through neural implants, not through what they call primitive gestures. They exiled you because you can move things with your mind in the wrong way," Sarah said with a disbelieving laugh. Aya reassembled the regulator with a graceful wave of her hand. "Among other flaws, yes. My energy signature is considered inconsistent. My coloration is too vibrant and I ask too many questions." Sarah smiled. "Questions are kind of my specialty." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden blaring alarm. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor as the station's AI announced in its monotone voice, "Approaching quantum disturbance class 4. Recommended action. Immediate evacuation." "There's nowhere to evacuate to," Sarah muttered, rushing toward the command center with Aya close behind. The main view screen showed a swirling vortex of energy approaching the station, rapidly, colors shifting in impossible patterns. Sarah's hands flew across the control panel. "The shields won't hold against that. It's some kind of spatial anomaly. I've never seen readings like this." Aya stared at the approaching phenomenon, her silver eyes reflecting its chaotic light. "It's a temporal fold, a rare occurrence when dimensions brush against each other." Sarah glanced at her. "How do you know that?" "Because I can feel it," Aya whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "The vibrations between realities." The station shuddered as the edge of the anomaly touched their shields. Systems began failing in cascades, emergency bulkheads slamming shut as sections lost pressure. Sarah worked, frantically trying to reroute power to maintain life support. "We're losing containment on the reactor," she shouted over the wailing alarms. "If we can't stabilize it, the whole station will collapse." Without hesitation, Aya moved to the center of the command room, her robes billowing around her as if caught in an invisible wind. She raised her hands, purple skin glowing with an inner light. "I can create a buffer between us and the anomaly, but you need to adjust the shield harmonics to match my energy signature." "That's not possible," Sarah said, even as she began calibrating. "The shields aren't designed to sync with biological energy." Aya's eyes locked with hers, intense and determined. "Trust me, Sarah, I was designed for this, even if my creators didn't know it." The moment Sarah aligned the shields to Aya's unique frequency, something extraordinary happened. The purple glow from Aya's skin extended outward, forming a translucent dome around the entire station. The chaotic energy of the anomaly flowed around them like water around a stone. In the eerie purple light, Sarah watched transfixed as Aya maintained the protective barrier, her face serene despite the obvious strain. Her robes had fallen away from her shoulders, revealing intricate patterns etched into her skin, patterns that pulsed with the same rhythm as the shield. For 23 minutes they remained suspended in that delicate balance, until finally the anomaly passed, leaving the station damaged but intact. Aya collapsed to the floor, her energy depleted. Sarah rushed to her side, cradling her head gently. "That was incredible," Sarah whispered. "You saved us both." Aya's eyes fluttered open, a tired smile touching her lips. "Now you know why the Sovereign feared me enough to send me away." Later, as they sat in the observation dome sharing a rare bottle of synthesized wine, Sarah couldn't stop watching Aya. The way starlight played across her purple skin, the grace in her smallest movements, the depth in those silver eyes. What else can you do that they considered wrong? Sarah asked, her voice soft in the quiet room. Aya looked at her for a long moment. I feel things I shouldn't. I form attachments where Novanians are supposed to remain detached. I experience emotions that were bred out of my people generations ago. Emotions aren't flaws, Aya. They are to my father, she replied, her hand tentatively reaching across the space between them. But perhaps not to you. When their fingers touched, Sarah felt a gentle current pass between them like a question waiting to be answered. And in the vastness of space at the edge of known reality, two outcasts began to discover that what others called broken might actually be something beautiful instead. The shadow of the Empire. The sleek Imperial shuttle cut through the crimson nebula like a blade, its obsidian hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. By the time Sarah detected its approach, it was already requesting docking clearance from Epsilon 9. Unscheduled Imperial transport, identify yourself, Sarah called through the comm system, her fingers hovering over the emergency lockdown protocols. A smooth voice replied, Transport Helios carrying Special Envoy Cooper on official, Council business transmitting authorization codes now. Sarah frowned as the codes appeared on her screen. They were authentic highest-level clearance. Clearance granted. Helios Docking Bay 2 is operational. She closed the channel and turned to Aya, who stood perfectly still, her silver eyes focused on the approaching shuttle. Someone important is coming, Aya whispered. I can feel their intent. It's hidden sharp like a blade beneath silk. Sarah touched Aya's arm gently, feeling the slight tremor beneath her purple skin. You don't have to meet them, you can stay in the lab. Aya shook her head. If they're from the Council, they already know I'm here. Hiding would only confirm I have something to fear. The man who stepped from the shuttle was not what Sarah expected. Not the typical Novanian official with cybernetic enhancements and cold efficiency. Instead, Cooper appeared almost entirely human, except for the faint golden sheen to his skin and the vertical pupils of his amber eyes. Dr. Chen, he said with a slight bow, and Princess Aya, what an unexpected pleasure to find you here. Sarah stepped forward slightly, positioning herself between Cooper and Aya. No one mentioned Aya's royal status when they dropped her here like unwanted cargo. Cooper smiled, the expression not quite reaching his eyes. An unfortunate misunderstanding. I'm sure the sovereign has been concerned about his daughter's well-being. His gaze slid past Sarah to where Aya stood. You look well, Princess. The outpost life seems to agree with you. Why are you here, Cooper? Aya asked, her voice steadier than Sarah expected. Routine inspection, he replied casually, removing his gloves. The Council is considering repurposing this facility, given recent anomaly activity in the sector. They've taken new interest in Dr. Chen's research. Later, as Cooper toured the station, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of wrongness that followed him like a shadow. The way he examined their equipment. The questions about the temporal anomaly they'd encountered. The careful way he watched Aya when he thought no one was looking. That night, Sarah found Aya in the hydroponics bay, surrounded by plants that seemed to reach toward her as if seeking her touch. He's lying, Sarah said without preamble. About everything. Aya nodded, not looking up from the flowering vine curling around her fingers. He's here because of what happened with the anomaly. The station's automatic distress beacon would have reported. The shield modifications. You using my energy signature. Sarah sat beside her. What aren't you telling me, Aya? Who are you, really? For a long moment, there was only silence broken by the soft hum of circulation fans. Then Aya spoke, her voice barely audible. I wasn't born, I was created. In a laboratory deep beneath the Novanian capital, Sovereign, Zex commissioned a program to develop beings who could manipulate quantum energy, not just move objects but influence the fabric of reality itself. Sarah's eyes widened. You're a synthetic. No. Aya shook her head. Biological but engineered. designed to have abilities no natural Novanian could possess. My purple skin isn't a defect. It's a side effect of the energy manipulation genes they created. 20 of us. Only I survived. And when they realized they couldn't control me completely, they declared me flawed. A failed experiment. Sarah reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind Aya's ear. You're not an experiment, Aya. You're a person. Aya looked up, then her silver eyes luminous in the dim light of the hydroponics bay. Am I Sarah? What am I really? Without thinking, Sarah leaned forward, pressing her lips gently against Aya's. The contact sent a strange, tingling sensation across her, skin like static electricity but warm and pleasant. Aya froze for a moment, then responded, her hands finding Sarah's waist, pulling her closer. When they finally separated, both breathless, Sarah whispered, You're the most remarkable person I've ever met. That's what you are. Aya's smile was radiant, her purple skin glowing faintly with emotion. No one has ever looked at me and seen something worthy of desire. Then everyone else has been blind? Sarah murmured, tracing the patterns on Aya's neck with her fingertips. Neither of them noticed the small surveillance drone hovering in the shadows of the ventilation system, its lens focusing on their embrace, transmitting data directly to Cooper's quarters. In his room, Cooper watched the feed, his amber eyes narrowing. Interesting, he murmured to himself, activating a secure channel. Admiral Area. The asset has formed an attachment to the human scientist, as you predicted. Recommend accelerating the extraction timeline. He paused, listening to the response. Understood, the Sovereign will be pleased. He closed the channel, staring at the frozen image of Sarah and Aya together. Such a waste, he said to no one. So much power in such a flawed vessel. Outside the station, the crimson nebula pulsed as if alive, shadows moving within its depths like creatures swimming in a bloody sea. The game had begun, and none of them yet realized they were merely pieces on a board much larger than they could imagine. Rebellion in the stars. The explosion rocked Epsilon 9, sending Sarah stumbling against the laboratory wall. Alarms blared as emergency systems activated. Aya, she called out, racing through smoke-filled corridors. Cooper stood in the command center, his amber eyes now glowing unnaturally. The princess is being retrieved, Dr. Chen. Your participation in this experiment is terminated. She's not an experiment, Sarah snarled, lunging for the emergency weapon locker. A blast of energy knocked her backward, Cooper's hand glowing with the same power Aya possessed. Did you really think the Sovereign would create only one? Before he could strike again, the station shuddered as another ship forcibly docked. A group of fighters stormed in, led by a scarred woman with determination etched into her face. I'm Isabel, she announced, firing at Cooper, and we're the Cosmic Truth Resistance. Cooper retreated, calling for Imperial reinforcements. Sarah followed Isabel to find Aya fighting off Novanian soldiers, her purple skin blazing with energy. Sarah, Aya cried, reaching for her. They want to use me to create a weapon that can destroy entire realities. Isabel nodded grimly. The Sovereign's Project Eclipse, we've been tracking it for years. Aya is the key. Then we'll be the lock, Sarah said, taking Aya's hand, feeling the energy flow between them. Together. As Imperial forces surrounded the station, Aya looked into Sarah's eyes. If we survive this, there's no going back. The Empire will hunt us forever. Sarah smiled. Some things are worth running for. The Cosmic Truth. The Resistance cruiser limped through uncharted space, damage visible across its hull. Inside, Admiral Aria herself faced Aya, Sarah, and Isabel. Across a force field, you were never a failure, Aria said, her cybernetic implants pulsing. You were the only success. The others, like Cooper, were controllable but limited. You were perfect, capable of manipulating the quantum membrane between dimensions. Perfect for creating a weapon, Sarah said bitterly, to destroy rival worlds. Aria's laugh was cold. Not destroy, merge. The Sovereign plans to collapse all realities into one under his rule. Aya stepped forward, her purple skin illuminated with power. That's why he feared me. I could sense the wrongness in his plans. And now, Isabel asked, with the resistance fleet destroyed. Now I show you why they called me flawed. Aya whispered. Her power exploded outward, not destroying but transforming. The energy passed through Sarah, connecting them in ways beyond physical. When it cleared, Arya stood frozen. Her systems overloaded, the force field dissolved. What did you do? Sarah asked in awe. I rewrote the energy signature of this ship, Aya explained. It no longer exists in the Empire's reality. They can't track what they can't perceive. Later, as they drifted toward the outer systems, Sarah held Aya close, watching stars through the viewport. Where do we go now? She asked, tracing the patterns on Aya's purple skin. Aya smiled, her silver eyes reflecting infinite possibilities. Everywhere the universe is vast and we're free to find our place in it. No longer experiments or failures, just ourselves. Sarah kissed her gently, feeling the familiar energy pass between them. I never believed in destiny until I met you. Perhaps the universe knew better than the sovereign. Aya whispered against Sarah's lips. Perhaps some mistakes are actually miracles. As their ship disappeared, into the darkness, two souls once labeled broken found wholeness in each other, proving that sometimes the greatest power isn't found in perfect design, but in the beautiful flaws that make us who we truly are.